Welcome again to this music production course. In this last video, I will focus on mastering your song. What's exactly mastering? Mastering means that you have this last bus, this stereo out bus, also called the stereo master bus, where all sound comes together. In this mix, I have a drum, grouped drums in fact. They're over here. Let's have a look. Group drums, electric bass, piano, acoustic piano, a resonator guitar, a lead vocalist, and some backing vocals too. And every instrument, every one of those instruments is on a track. And then I changed the sound of those drums by making the sound go through some plugins. I used some compressors. I made I made with some ping pong delays the feeling of a room. I added some reverb to those delays. I compressed that wet sound, that self-created wet sound. And then I have the pre-master of the drums. So the pre-master is the end of the solo treatment. And I did this for every instrument. You have the bass. I altered the sound of the bass. And then you have the pre-master of the bass. That's where this altered sound ends, where it finally ends up in. That's your acoustic piano, same thing. Some sound treatment, pre-master of the piano, and so on. So they all have their pre-master. And finally, all that music comes together over here in the stereo master bus. The first thing we have to do is to check if all that volume combined, the volume of the drums, the bass, the piano, and the guitar, and the vocals, is not too loud. You should consider, you should see it as glasses of water. You have one glass of drums, one glass of water, of bass water, one glass of piano water, one glass of resonator guitar water, one glass of lead vocal, one glass with backing vocals, water in it. And now all this water is going to be poured into this stereo master bus. But it has only the size of one glass. You are pouring 5 or 6 glasses of water, of sound, into one glass. Of course, it will overflow. So you have to check. The first thing you have to do is put a level meter here. There is no level meter here, so I'm installing it. And we're going to check if it's overflowing or not. Overflowing means this zero line is called the ceiling of your room, of your stereo master bus room. Let's see.
I am what I am. You are what you are. We're tigers in a cage.
It's not overflowing. In fact, I have some headroom left. So the highest peaks of the music stop at -5 decibels, at -5 dB. And the ceiling is at 0, so it's definitely not overflowing. Why is that? Why is it not overflowing? I just poured 6 glasses of sound into one glass. That's because I already took care of that. You should lower the volume of the pre-master. Like this volume line is nearly at 0, but I added a gain plugin and I put it on -3 dB. I could not use the gain plugin, and in that case, I would have to select all this and drag it down 3 dB to have the same effect. With the bass, for example, the volume line is at -6.6 dB, so it's not at 0. So that glass of water, or that glass of bass water, I already poured a bit out of it by lowering the volume line. And so I did the same with the drums, but instead of using the volume line, I put a gain plugin here, and then I lowered the content of that sound glass, or that drum sound glass, by 3 dB. I did the same with the piano, the acoustic piano. I gained it down by nearly 8 dB, so that piano was far too loud. Do you see that? I mean, far too loud in comparison to the other instruments. So you have to gain down the volume of your instruments so that in the end, when they come together, when you pour them all in this master bus glass, that it's not overflowing. All right, because you don't want it to overflow, because then the sound will distort. And a distorted sound, it will sound like, oh, there's something wrong with this song. So you don't want that, so don't make it clip. Let's have a look at the plugins that I have used over here. There is only a little bit, I added a little bit of reverb. So it's on the dry sound, it's full, and I added a little bit of reverb with no pre-delay to glue the band together. I also added a little bit of tape saturation, but it's not a plugin you will find in Logic Pro unless you buy it. This one is from Isotope. And I distorted the harmonics a little bit with this plugin. It works like this. You add a little bit of drive. This causes distortion, and the distortion causes a little bit of compression. And all this makes the music sound warmer. So that's what tape saturation does. Creates a warm feeling. Then you see a compressor here. What kind of compressor is that? It has an attack time of 0 milliseconds and a release time of 5 milliseconds. It's to take down the crest a bit of the total combined volume of all those instruments. What's crest? Those are the initial peaks of the instruments. So let's have a look.
I am what I am. You are what you are.
So you can see here I'm shaving off some peaks. And why am I doing this? Because I have a limiter over here. And this is the most important plugin of all. It's a maximizer. Or you could also use, instead of the maximizer, because I bought this maximizer, you can also go to Dynamics. And then let's have a look. I think it's the adaptive limiter. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. This is the same thing as the maximizer. So you have a plugin in Logic Pro, you don't have to buy it, that can do exactly the same thing. I will use the maximizer because it's easier to see what's going on. What's a maximizer? First of all, it has a ceiling. The ceiling is not set on 0. The ceiling is in this case set on -1 dB. And this threshold is here. And what I will do now is I will push the music. This is the ceiling. And I'm going to make the floor higher and higher. So the floor is now rising. The floor is rising. Rising, rising. And now, you see this?
There's no turning around.
You see this?
No freedom without color.
What is this?
No
what you see here?
Without love.
What you see here is I make the floor go up by adding more gain and more gain. So this is what I do. I add more gain, more gain, more gain, more gain, more gain, more gain. And I push the sound against the ceiling. And once it is pushing against the ceiling, the limiter starts working. What happens is this.
I am what I am. You are what what you want.
The blue thing you see here
Tigers in a cage.
is the limiter pushing all the sound that's higher than the ceiling back under the ceiling. So this is called maximizing the volume of your mix. So if I turn this off, or if I turn this maximizer off, listen.
I am what I am.
Sounds like this.
You are
Much softer.
what you want.
The maximizer
Tigers
pushes the volume against the ceiling
for space.
and makes sure when it overflows, when the water is flowing out of the glass, that it's pushed back in.
But not much is left of our childhood dreams.
So you maximize the volume of your mix. You had some headroom left over here. Hey, you had 4 dB left. So that's what happens here. I push by lowering the threshold. I push and I push. I push the sound up and up and up until it reaches the ceiling. And once it reaches the ceiling, I stop. Why did I leave -1 dB of headroom over here? It has something to do with YouTube streaming, streaming. Yes, so you can stream your music on YouTube. You can stream it on other providers, and they might want to change your music a little bit, and they need some headroom to do this. Why would they want to change my music? And now we are really stepping into mastering. You have to add a loudness meter because YouTube says that your music cannot be louder than -14 LUFS over here. That's loud. That's the perceived loudness over the total length of your song. So when I play the song from the start all the way to the end, I should have -14 LUFS. This means that the body of the sound with the peaks on top of it, created by the instruments and the vocals, should not exceed -14 LUFS. And metaphorically, this -14 stands for the average water level over the total length of the song if you would replace loudness by water. Let's first turn the maximizer off and let's see.
I am what I am.
You see, I'm far away
What you are.
from -14 LUFS. It keeps hanging on -18. So what I do now is I'm going to push up the volume.
I'm not the enemy. It's
So
time
I turn on the maximizer and let's see. But look, it's too loud now.
Friends,
Do you see that? It's already -12 LUFS, -11 LUFS. So I'm going to push less hard. I'm going to lower the floor again. Let's see. Lower it a bit more. Now it's around 14. You see it's moving around 14.
And rivers flow downstream.
So, isn't that interesting? I could make the song much louder. Did you see that? I could push it all the way against the ceiling, but YouTube would say, oh no, it is louder than -14 LUFS. It's like -10 LUFS or -11 LUFS. We don't accept that. And we are going to turn the volume of your song down ourselves. We are going to convert your song. And that's why they need that -1 dB headroom, because they're going to change your song. I don't want that. Do you want that? Do you want YouTube to change your mix? No. So we put it on -1 dB. If they want to alter your song, they can still do it. And then we are going to search for that -14 LUFS ourselves. So we are not going to push the floor up, it's strange, of course, that I say pushing the floor up, again, so the sound reaches the ceiling. This is, when I move it down, it's pushing the floor up. I will push the floor up a little bit until minus 14 LUFS is reached over there. So, 2 requirements. YouTube asks a little bit of headroom here. And YouTube says you cannot make your song as loud as you would wish or as loud as it can be. No, all music will be set at minus 14 LUFS. Why do they do this? Well, if you click on a YouTube video and then you click on another YouTube video, they don't want you to change the volume on your device. They already did this for you. They put all the music on the same volume level, minus 14 LUFS. Is there more to say about it? Yes, there is. Online radios, they don't want minus 14 LUFS. They say we want minus 16 LUFS. So if you mix for online radios, let me show you. You are going to lower the floor only a little bit. Look at that. It's already minus 16 here. Maybe I can put it a little louder. It's of course over the total length of the song. So now I have to play the whole song normally. And then it should, this number should be minus 16. You'll see when all the instruments come in, it goes up. Huh? So this might still be too loud. Huh? Let's see.
We're tigers in a cage, fighting for space. The earth is still spinning, and are what you are. We're dragons in a den.
This might be okay, but I'm not sure because I would have to play the whole song, and then this should be minus 16, and then this song is mastered for online radios. If this number says minus 14, so I can push the floor up a bit more, push the sound more against the ceiling, so to say, then this reading should be minus 14. And there it comes. For FM radios, it's better to mix around minus 12.5 LUFS. Because FM radios, they prefer the music to be as loud as possible because you would choose their radio station. And so in that case, look at that, I will be able to really...
I am what I am.
I will push the sound against that ceiling. Let's do it with all the music on it.
I am what I am.
Look, it's minus 10 LUFS now.
We're tigers in
I will lower it. I will push less hard. Because minus 12.5 is already okay for FM radios.
And rivers flow downstream, but not much is left of our childhood dreams.
Okay. After I've played the whole song, this should read minus 12.5. And, oh, I forgot, they prefer a ceiling of minus and a half dB FM radios. They might add a little bit more high to your song because they want it to sound more aggressive and louder, and more high means that we think it's better. Huh? So that's what they do. They change your song. So to be able for them to do this, you should already make it already loud enough, and you still give them some headroom. They might bring your song down up to minus 10 LUFS. That's the perceived loudness. When you go to my website, let's see, this is me. I'm an author of books normally, or I was. Let's go to download music. These are my music projects. So I had some music projects for the last 2 years. And you can see here, specifications for FM radio, 24-bit, minus 12.5 LUFS, minus 1.5 true peak, that's the ceiling. Online radio, 24-bit, minus 16 LUFS, minus 1 true peak streaming. If it's like for YouTube, minus 14 LUFS, minus 1 true peak. So if you click on the project and you go to FM radio and you click then on the song, I Am What I Am, you will get this song at minus 12.5 LUFS. If you go to online radio, you will get this song at minus 16 LUFS. And if you click on streaming, you will get this download at minus 14 LUFS. So the perceived loudness of all these downloads, of all these versions, is different. Because that's what they ask. Online services ask minus 14 LUFS, online radios minus 16, and then the FM radios. A good setting is minus 12.5 LUFS, and the ceiling even a bit lower at minus 1.5 dB. So that's what you have to do. You have to maximize the volume, but at the same time, you're not allowed to. There was a time when music was still delivered on CDs that you could do what I have been showing you. You could have done this.
I am what I am.
You make it as loud as you want to.
What you want.
I will really press the music against the ceiling. I will also make the ceiling just
let go.
Nearly at 0.
I'm not the enemy. It's time to fulfill.
I will make it
all animosity
limited.
With
you see how much louder the music is already now. So that's what they did when they pressed the music on those CDs. They wanted the following thing to happen. You were listening to someone's CD and you liked it, and the volume of your device was, for example, on 3. And then you put my CD in your device, and suddenly it sounds much louder. You go to your device and you lower the volume because it's louder, and louder is perceived as better. So you will think my CD is better because you had to lower the volume of your device. Or if you don't touch your device, you might be listening to my CD at your device on the volume of 3. And you will think, oh, this is so much better than the other one because the other one sounded weaker. So softer is an equivalent of weaker. That's how, what our brain tells us. But nowadays, you cannot keep pushing that sound always higher, harder and harder against the ceiling. At least not on YouTube. I think SoundCloud, you can put your music on it and make it as loud as you want to. They are not changing the volume of your upload. What happens, of course, on SoundCloud then is that when you listen to a certain project of someone put his music there, you might think like, oh, God damn it, this is too loud. And then you put another project on and you think like, oh, this is too soft. So you have to change the volume of your device. YouTube doesn't want that. They want you not to touch the volume of your device. They're already making everything minus 14 LUFS. And then they say, that's easy for you. All music, the same treatment. Aha. Now there is something, I hope you will understand it. I will open the song again for a moment. Let's see, don't save, and then I will open it again. Minus 14 LUFS for all music. That's interesting. Why is it interesting? There is still a way to make my song sound louder than your song on YouTube, although both songs are mixed on minus 14 LUFS. How do I do this? So this song, if you play the whole song all the way to the end, this meter will say minus 14 LUFS. It has to do with the instrumentation. Have a look. This song starts without the drums. There is no drums here at the beginning in the verse. There is no drums here, no bass here, and there is no piano yet. That means that there is less density. If I would make the drums start right from the beginning and the bass too, then I would have to press my music less hard against the ceiling because there would be more density, more volume in the mix. So I have to put it softer. So the more instruments are on from the beginning all the way to the end, the softer you have to put the song to reach minus 14 LUFS. You can compare it with a bar. If I'm talking in the bar and there's no one there, you can clearly understand me, isn't it? But if the bar is full of people, then there's a lot of density there. There's just more volume there. And you will not even be able to understand me quite clearly. And this happens with a song too. By making the song start just with a guitar,
I am what I am. You are what you are.
there is not much density. Well, I compared it with glasses of water, so maybe that's an easier way to see it. If the drums are on, I'm pouring water into the master, isn't it? And then there is more volume over there. If the bass is on, if the bass is sounding, then I pour more water into that glass over here, that master stereo master glass. And the more water there is here, the more sound there is, because the water represents sound. And then I might have to turn that maximizer. I cannot push that floor up. I cannot push the music up that much because there is just more sound there over the total length of the song. So if you listen to music of Taylor Swift, for example, you will hear that basically there is a beat and a vocal. And then there are some synthesizers, and they are mostly they're on, but quite softly. So she doesn't turn on instruments that don't have to be on. And I did this too. First of all, I did it because it helps the storytelling. It's nice that there is variation in the music. So you can see I turned the drums off here too for a moment. I turned the bass off here again. It's nice when you arrive here in the song and the drum suddenly stops playing. You wake up when you listen to it. So there is not only less water or less sound in the master, which makes it possible for me to push the music up harder to reach minus 14 LUFS, but it's also more
Without a proper guide, I am what I am. You are what you are.
You see that the drums are gone and it's more interesting for the storytelling. So, the way to make your music sound louder on YouTube all lies in using less instruments that accompany the vocal. But have a look, there is another meter here. That's the last meter we will talk about. It's the loud unit. It's also a loud unit meter. And so this is loud units, or it's perceived loudness, LUFS. And this LU range meter is actually telling you how much variation there is in your music arrangement. So if you always pour the same amount of water in the stereo bus, or sound water into the stereo bus glass, then that meter will be very low. The LU will be 2, for example. But if there is enough variation, if instruments come in and they are muted again and then they come in again, this range will go up. How much should it go up? What do we expect from this meter? In fact, it's something you should decide yourself. If you made a song just with a guitar and a vocal, then you are always pouring the same amount of volume into this stereo bus, and then the LU will be very low, but that's what you want. If you have a lot of instruments and they're always on, and you want that. If you say like, I'm not turning off any instruments, they don't come in later, I don't want that, I want all the music to be on right from the start, then this meter will also have a low number like 1 or 2. But there is a but. Don't be boring. So I'm not saying you're boring when you just accompany yourself with a guitar, because you might always be playing different things on that guitar. But that meter might tell you something about how boring your music arrangement is. Let's see from the start. I will make that rain. Okay, let's start the song. So let's have a look at that meter.
I am what I am. You are what you are.
It still has to find its position a bit in the beginning. So it will go down, 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 down.
Come on, let go.
And I think we're nearly there. It's stabilizing. Oh, it still goes down a bit.
It's time
Okay.
to forfeit all animosity.
A reason that it keeps going down is because it's always the same guitar
Don't you forget.
and the same vocals. So the less variation, the more the meter goes down. But look,
Once said I am what
and now the meter goes up because new instruments come in. Did you see that?
we're tired.
So if the music starts and the music stays the same for a long time, just 2 vocals and a guitar, the meter will go down. The moment the group drums and the electric bass come in and the piano, it will go up because it detects a change in loudness caused by the change in instrumentation. Be aware, you have some guidance here that says something about your arrangement. And what is that? This meter should not go up more than 3 or go down more than 3. So if you start at 3, did you see the meter go down at 3? So now it should only go up all the way until 6, and from 6 to 3, and from 3 to 6. But so the range should be about 3. Imagine the meter comes down and stabilizes at 6, then that's okay. Then you go maybe up all the way until to 9, from 6 to 9, from 9 to 6. So the higher the number here, the more variation, but the variation should be limited to 3 as displayed on this meter. So let's play it again. Let's do it for a little bit longer.
I am what I am.
So you see the LUFS going up.
You are what
The
you
LUFS is slowly going up to minus 14.
fighting.
It should be, because I mastered this. This is a master for YouTube. So the LUFS should end on minus 14 at the end of the song.
It's time to forfeit
And this,
all animosity.
I like it. It's more than 3. So there is already, you see, it reaches 3.
Get
A little bit lower even.
and will come between us. That's what you want.
And now it should not go up more than 3.
What I am.
It should stop, around 5. You see that? At 5.4 it stopped. That's good. So there is more music, there is more loudness, more density,
There's still
but I didn't exaggerate it. It stayed within a certain range.
but not much is left of our childhood dreams. If we
You see, this meter goes down again
no turning
because all the instruments are on for some time now.
without colors, no game.
And look at the meter again.
I am what I am.
The meter goes up.
You are
You see that?
what you are.
Why is it going up? Because
Dragons in a
there is no bass anymore. The piano is gone too. So that meter jumped up. It detects variation in loudness.
build a fly. We are to
And this LUFS meter is slowly going up to minus 14 LUFS, which would be exactly what YouTube expects. So YouTube will then not change
only time
my song. They will not alter the sound of my song.
what I am. You are what you are. We're Buddhists.
Let's open that maximizer again.
Silence is our vibe.
So the maximizer is on -5, the threshold.
Floating around. We all shift form.
I will open one more meter, this level meter. It's this level meter over here. You can see the music is pushed all the way up to minus to this ceiling.
Without a proper guide, I am what I am. You are what you are. We're old but not bold. Oh, what a joke. They treat us like dogs. No bone, no reward. Our freedom is restricted by the fans of the young. But I can't get up and you are losing your mind. You don't even remember that we shared a lifetime. But we are what we are.
Do you see that? I was wrong. So I have 0.9 left at the end of the song. What am I going to do now? I am going to make this go to 6.1. And if I play the song now again, it will end up on -14 LUFS. So it was not properly set. So it was not properly set for a YouTube mix. All right, let's talk about one last subject. And that subject is the ceiling of the true peak. You can see instead of the ceiling being at 0, the ceiling is at -1 dB. That's what YouTube prefers. And if I play the whole song, the integrated LUFS at the end will be on -14.
Silence is our vibe. No fighting, just
So this mix is made for YouTube. Now have a look over here at the true peak. You see these blue things reacting over here?
Silence is
Not the whole time,
no fighting,
but sometimes. You see it?
floating.
What is that exactly?
We all
I have a level meter over here too, so behind the maximizer. And it shows me the same thing as those blue markers that are moving.
what you are.
Look at it.
We're Buddhists in a temple.
It shows me
Silence is our vibe.
if the highest peaks
Just karma.
are indeed reaching that ceiling. It's not because I set the ceiling at -1 dB that the music is actually reaching that ceiling. It could be possible that the highest peaks are not reaching that ceiling. Let me give you an example of that. For example, when I turn, because this mix was for YouTube, it was meant for YouTube, if I put the threshold on -4.1. Now this mix could be for online radios. So what did I do? I made the floor, I lowered the floor. So the music is now further away from the ceiling. And this will result in about -16 integrated LUFS if I play the song. If I play the whole song, because it shows me
What you are. We're
integrated LUFS is over the whole length of the song. So.
silence is our
But you can see
no fighting, just karma.
if I would play the whole song, it would end up at -16.
We all shift.
But have a look over here. Do you ever see those blue markings that tell me that the sound is actually reaching the ceiling and is being, or even tries to pass the ceiling and is pushed back? Because that's what those blue markers show you, that it's pushed back.
What you are.
I don't see it.
We're Buddhists
It's not there.
in a temple.
So I open the level meter,
Is our blood.
and you can see
Just karma. Floating.
that we are not reaching this ceiling. We are, in fact, the highest peaks are at minus 2.3 and the ceiling is set at minus 0.1. So we have, if you make the difference, you have 1.3 dB headroom left, which means this song is not as loud as it could be. Do we want that? No, we don't want that. What are we going to do now? There's only one possibility. You have to loosen up the compressors of every instrument. So you see, those are my drums. Those are the compressors for the dry sound of the drums. These are the compressors for the wet sound of the drums. You have to make them compress less. On the pre-master, I also have a compressor that's compressing the crest, so you have to turn it off. I'm not doing it right now, but you have to do it for all the instruments. There should be less compression on every instrument. And after you have done that, the peaks will be higher and they will actually reach the ceiling. But, there's always a but. When you pour more loudness in the master over the total length of the song, because the peaks are now higher, you will not end up with minus 16 integrated LUFS. No, it might be minus 15 and a bit. Because when you pour more loudness into the master over the total length of the song, the LUFS keeps going up. So you have to find a balance. What does that mean? You are going to loosen up the compressors and there will be higher peaks, but luckily for you, those highest peaks only occur once in a while in a song. So you might have to lower the floor a bit more because the peaks are higher, but normally this lowering is less than that the peaks became higher. I hope I explain it right. So there will be a moment that you will actually reach the ceiling and that you will have minus 16 integrated LUFS over here. You might have to play a little bit with how high you are going to make that floor we talk about. I always tell you that the body of the sound is somewhere on a floor with the peaks above it, and we lower that floor or we push that floor up. In the end, you should end up with a mix that's actually reaching the ceiling. Preferably, it pushes a bit against that ceiling and the sound is pushed back. You should make that true peak limiter, because it's a limiter, work. How hard are you going to make it work? So the setting over here, that was for YouTube. If I have this setting, I will end up with minus 14 LUFS. And let's now create a setting for FM radios. I will put it on minus 8.1 and I will take half a dB off here of the ceiling. I lower the ceiling a bit. Now I should end up with minus 12 and a half integrated LUFS.
What you are. We're Buddhists in a temple. Silence is our blood.
Have a look.
Fighting just karma.
Now
Floating around.
you can see the sound is really pressed against the ceiling.
It's out.
Did you see it? So I end up with about minus 12 and a half nearly. Of course, I should play the whole song to be certain. And what you could see is that the sound is really pushed against the ceiling, and then the limiter pushes it back or cuts the high peaks off. It depends on how you look at it. And you can see the number over here. You can see how hard it pushes back. And it was nearly 3 dB. So that means that some peaks are 3 dB above the ceiling. And that those 3 dB are being pushed back. Those are peaks of the total volume, so of all the instruments together. So we have the drums, the bass, piano, guitar, and the vocals. And that total sound seems to generate peaks that are sometimes, look at here at the number, exceeding the ceiling and have to be pushed back by that limiter. All right, so a maximizer is a limiter that allows us to push the sound against the ceiling, and it also limits all the sound that tries to go above that ceiling. It cuts it off. So this was a perfect number. It's not higher than 3 dB or minus 3 dB. So that means that it's cutting off peaks to a length of about 3 dB. And that's good. What if this would be a mix for CD? A CD mix can be as loud as you want to, as you prefer it to be. The same for a mix on SoundCloud. I'm going to give a demonstration. I'm not going to give a demonstration. I'm going to give a small demonstration. Imagine people are not satisfied. They say, oh, it sounds too live. This blues song, it sounds too live. You have to compress it more. And you have to press it on a CD for us. First thing I'm going to do is this.
What you want. We're Buddhists in a temple.
I'm going to lower it a bit more.
No fighting,
okay, now I'm exceeding minus 3 dB sometimes. You see that? So the limiter works a bit. This limiter works a bit too hard. What can I do to make it sound even louder? There are two things I can do. First of all, I can compress more. So I should lower the threshold of all those compressors, and I should cause more compression. A second thing I can do is make this drums go into a bus together with the bass. I'm going to create bus compression now. Have a look.
What you want.
I turn this on. Let's use this setting.
Silence is our blood. No fighting, just karma. Floating around.
All right.
We all shift forms.
So the pre-master of the drums goes into bus 240. The bass, the electric bass, goes also into bus 240, and they're compressed together now. That's a good idea because the bass and the kick of the drums, they have both low frequencies and they are evening each other out thanks to this compressor. So this compressor is also called bus compression or a glue compressor. I have only two instruments left, the piano and the guitar. The frequencies of the guitar and the piano don't overlap totally, but I'm going to put them in one bus for the moment, just for the illustration. So the pre-master of the piano goes into bus 242. I will make the guitar go into bus 242. And I turn it on.
What you want.
And we start compressing.
In a temple. Silence is our
the piano and the guitar together.
Fighting just karma.
We take about the same, about 2 dB.
We all
okay, so the drums and the bass are compressed by a bus compressor. the piano and the guitar are compressed by a bus compressor. And let's see if we can do the same thing with the vocal. If I have a bus left, okay, I take bus 18. I make the backing vocals who are singing in unisono in my case. I will make them go to bus 18 too. Then I put that compressor, that same compressor with the loose settings in that bus. And I will start compressing the lead together with...
Silence is our blood. No.
Okay, now I go back to my master, and normally I can, let's see.
What you want.
So there are less peaks in the master, which means I can push the sound harder against the ceiling.
Floating around.
I'm not reaching 3 yet. Yeah, I do.
And it's our turn now to shed our skin. Aren't we all
So that's how you make a song as loud as possible. You have to, I didn't do it, but you have to compress more. And then another way to do it, or an extra thing you can do, is you can create bus compression, make instruments, group instruments together in a bus and put a compressor on it. And after you've done that, the peaks will be tamed. And then, because there are less peaks above the music, you can push the sound harder against that ceiling. And the song became louder. Did you see that? This song is a blues song. It's jazz. I prefer it to have peaks, higher peaks. Why? I like it to sound as a live band, as much as a live band as possible. But imagine this is not a blues song, but this is hard rock. When it's hard rock, you should do what I've just been doing. You should have more compression, and you should use those bus compressors. Why? Hard rock is a genre where there are not that many peaks above the body of the sound left. They're cut off by the compressors. This means that you can turn up the volume of your device without the risk that there might be a sudden peak that might damage your ear. So the reason hard rock sounds hard or loud is because you turn up the volume yourself on your device. It's not because it's loudly mixed, therefore. In fact, if you turn the volume of a hard rock song down, it will not emotionalize you at all, because there are not that many peaks above the body of the sound. They're all cut off. So everything sounds even. It's all the same. It sounds all the same. So the effect of hard rock is that because it sounds all the same, you can turn up the volume on your own device, and then it sounds very loud, and you don't have to worry about peaks that might suddenly occur. And because it sounds loud on your device, you have that feeling of aggression. So my blues song, you don't have that feeling of aggression, because there are a lot of peaks there. I maintained those peaks. And then you have the other effect. And the other effect is that the more dynamic range a song still has, the more you will be emotionalized by the fact that it goes soft and then it goes loud and then it goes soft and it goes loud. That's something that emotionalizes us too. So you should do some genre-depending mixing and mastering. And not just think like, okay, I have to mix it for YouTube, that's minus 14 LUFS. I have to mix it for online radio, that's minus 16 LUFS. Does the music reach the ceiling? Okay, it does, blah, blah, blah. No, you should also take into account the genre of the music that you are mixing and mastering. All right, that's it. This is the end of my course. Thank you for watching.